So in this part of the painting, we are going to make these little hatch marks, these little linear marks, and this will help us with controlling the brush and give us a sense of how we can kind of layer things and use the brush in a linear form. So there are a few different ways we can make these little marks. I'm going to show you one way of adjusting your paintbrush. A lot of people adjust their paintbrush so that they can have more control over it. And this is how one might do that. So I take a piece of tape and I fold over just one little corner of it. And then I put that on my paintbrush, and then I can kind of roll it around, and I'm flattening it as I roll it, so it's kind of flattened in one way. And let's see. So I'll just let you know that these hatch marks were made with this adjusted brush. When I did these hash marks, these ones here, I used a fairly big brush. I used a big brush like this, but I just didn't have as much paint. I didn't have as much water on it, and I used it very carefully. So it's all about kind of learning to control your brush. So I'm going to make these hatch marks kind of along here. And I'm going to use quite a bit of paint. Okay, so I'm going to take this big brush and make sure that the types of paint that I'm using have enough water on them. I'm going to use the blue, and I think, yeah. So I'm going to keep things kind of simple and just use a few colors. Let's see. And I don't want too much water on my brush, but let's see. I'm going to kind of, ooh, this is very fine. So I did a very nice job kind of adjusting this brush. I'm in a very awkward camera position here, so that you can see what I'm doing, and I can also see how the camera is doing things. So it's a little tricky. But you see how I'm making these kind of hatch marks. And then I can wash my brush off in the cool color. And I think I'll use another brush for the other part. So I'll use my big brush, and I'm just drying it off on the paper towel so that I've shaped it. Oop, I'm not showing it in the, so I've shaped it a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to take some almost pure paint, so there's not a lot of water added, and then I'm going to just very carefully go like this. This is dry brushing a little bit, which means that there isn't very much paint on the brush. So sometimes you might add just a little bit. If things aren't a little bit of water. So if things aren't going the way you want them to, don't get upset. Just enjoy what's happening and see if you can adjust it a little bit. Sometimes people put their put a fist, and then it kind of keeps your hand steady. It's a nice technique. And again, I'm in an extremely awkward position here, so nothing is going to look quite perfect because I've got a big tripod kind of in front of my face as I'm doing this demo. Okay, so that is going to be the hatches that you make, and you're going to continue them down maybe to there. Okay, so this would be continued down there. and you would let them kind of seep into this wet area that you've already done, just to see how they how the color kind of seeps into the wet part. Okay, and just play around with how they look on the paper. You can see on a slightly more finished one, a slightly more finished example, what they ended up looking like, and in my halfway finished example, what they ended up looking like. You can see how they really seeped into that wet, watery part there. Okay,